Well, hello. My name is Scott Moore. I'm the lead pastor of Broken Arrow Nazarene Church, and we're glad that you're here as we continue digging into Philippians. This week we're going to be looking at Philippians chapter 2, verses 19 through 24. I'm really going to make a lot of mention. We're going to talk a lot about Timothy in this passage, and so before we get started with that, some of you may struggle to even know who Timothy is. And Timothy was a protege of Paul. As a matter of fact, in the Church of the Nazarene, we have an award that we give to people who basically give their lives to the youth of our denomination. It's a pretty prestigious award, and it just kind of symbolizes the importance of youth. And so with that, we know that Timothy was a pretty young guy. Other than that, we don't know a whole lot about who Timothy was, other than Paul spent a lot of time pouring himself into Timothy and using Timothy for a lot of different things. In Philippians chapter 2, starting at verse 19, it basically says this. It says, "If the Lord is willing, I hope to send Timothy to you soon for a visit. Then he can cheer me up by telling me how you are getting along. I have no one else like Timothy who genuinely cares about your welfare. All of the others care for themselves only and not for what matters to Jesus. But you know how Timothy has proven himself. Like a son with his father, he has served with me in preaching the good news. I hope to send him to you just as soon as I find out what is going to happen to me here. And I have confidence from the Lord that I myself will come to see you soon." And so again, just as a reminder, Paul is in prison there, and so he is not able to go and to spend time with the Philippians. And so in Paul's mind, the next best thing would be to send Timothy. Timothy is that person who knows Paul more than anything. He's a person at this particular point in whom Paul trusts more than anybody else. And so sending Timothy to the Philippians and having Timothy come back, what Paul's really saying is, I'm actually going to trust what Timothy tells me about how you guys are living your life. He really cares about the mission of Jesus Christ. Again, there was nobody as close to Paul as Timothy, and so with this in mind, it's really important to see Timothy as a confidant, as a protege, and as somebody who can be trusted. He was with Paul in lots of different other ministries. He was with Paul in Philippi. He was with him in Thessalonica. He was with him in Corinth, and he was with him in Ephesus. He was with him in prison in Rome. Timothy was associated with Paul in the writing of no fewer than 5 of his letters, in 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, 2nd Corinthians, Colossians, and of course Philippians. And when Paul wrote to Rome, Timothy was joining with him in sending greetings, which meant that by this time Timothy was not only gaining the trust of Paul, but Timothy was gaining the trust of everyone else. You see, Timothy's great use was that whenever Paul wished for information from some church, or if he wished to send advice or encouragement or rebuke, and he couldn't go himself, Timothy is who he sent. And so Timothy was willing to go and do the things that Paul himself would do. Now, in order for this to make any kind of sense, we have to remember is that Paul was pouring his life into Timothy, and so he trusted him. He trusted him with absolutely everything. Now, up to now, you're probably thinking, okay, I get it. Paul trusted Timothy. So what are you telling me? You know, what does this have to do with my current walk and with my current life? I don't care where you are in your spiritual walk. Every single one of you needs a Timothy in your life and whom you can pour yourself into. One of the biggest mistakes that we can make as a Christian is not to pass along what it is that God has shared with us, with people who have the same mission as we have, especially our our younger folks. So if you've been in the church for 100 years, it's not only a good suggestion or a good idea that you pour into somebody younger than you. It really is kind of a mandate. See, Paul knew that he wasn't going to live forever. Paul knew that he wasn't going to be able to be with this group of people for eternity on this earth. And he was going to have to pour himself into somebody that he trusted and somebody that had the same mission as he had. And I think it's something that we forget as Christians because we look at people like Paul, or we look at people like pastors and maybe people that we look up to that we see as spiritual giants. And we don't think that what they're doing is pouring themselves in to us. I can name several people in my life that had spent most of their time pouring themselves into me. Hoping that I would be able to take some of the lessons that they've learned and marry those with my own experience and with what God's showing me in Scripture to go out and to do something really incredible for the kingdom. These are people that understood that the kingdom goes on past our physical life here on earth. And as we look through this passage, it's kind of a reminder for each and every one of us that one day we're not going to be here. I just went to the funeral of my dad, and I never would have thought when I was younger. You never think about the people that you look up to the most passing on, but they do. And so the only thing that I really have left of my dad are the positive things that he poured in to my life. Now he may have poured in some negative things as well, but the things that he poured into me was the need to work hard and to have a good work ethic, and he poured into me a desire to follow God and to not turn away from Him. And so for those things, I'm going to be able to pass those on to my son as well, and hopefully pour those into other people. Do you see where I'm going with all of this? You see, Timothy was willing to lay himself aside to be poured into by somebody that was wiser and older than he was. A lot of times we don't think that people want that, but that's exactly what some of our younger folks do want. I was reading the other day that one of the most coveted things that a teenager wants in today's society is a positive relationship with somebody that's older than them. We often think that they don't want to be around us, especially if you have children. You just kind of think that our children want to go off and do their own thing. But our children want a positive relationship with us. They want to hear from us, but we have to be willing to pour ourselves into them, and then we have to be willing to trust them with the information that we give them. We are never going to create carbon copies of ourselves, but with the information and with the wisdom that we pass on to other people, the hope is that they will live their life even better than we lived ours. And so with this in mind, I want you to think, are there people in your life that you could pour into that are younger than you? Maybe younger in the faith even. Maybe you have some people that are older than you, but you've been a Christian longer than they have. Are there people in your life that you could spend time with, pouring yourself into, spending time studying the Word together, answering questions that they have, mentoring them? Everyone needs a Timothy. Have fun discussing this. We'll talk to you next week.